Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Perspective. I'm TiffanyLaShon. We're so excited today. I have a woman here who is going to share her story of how she overcame alcoholism and being an exotic dancer. She's a single mom of a great young man, and we're so excited to have Jasmine Cruz with us, who's also known as Daughter of the King. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. I'm so excited to be on your show, and I'm just excited to tell you about my crazy past life and how God has redeemed everything. So I'm really excited to be here right now.
Awesome, and we're excited to hear her story. I want you guys to tune in and really listen to how she overcame all of the struggles that she's had to deal with, and now giving God all the glory for what he has done in her life. So go ahead and just present yourself and give us a little bit of your story, your background, and all of that information.
Sure, no problem. So to sum it up, my childhood, my family, we weren't really involved in church. We would go maybe a handful of times, but there was no really relationship with God or talking about who Jesus was in our home. It really kind of hit the fan in junior high whenever there was some issues of infidelity in my parents' relationship, and my dad ended up stepping out of the home. And as a 12-year-old girl, that was a really crucial time for me, meeting my father there. And I don't blame him, but he had his own issues when he was a child, so it all, generational stuff. So then that kind of grew into high school. I just started to find love in all the wrong places. And one thing that I fell into was alcohol, and for me it was like a Band-Aid. It helped me. It was like my best friend. Whenever I was sad, whenever I needed to just cheer up or forget about what was going on, I had that bottle of liquor just right next to me, and so it became a huge part of my life. It was literally like my best friend. And then so right after I graduated high school, found a guy, because that was also another best friend of mine, sleeping with men, feeling that validation, feeling loved by guys. And I got pregnant literally, it was a month after I graduated. And that was the time where I was like, yes, finally something. Like I was so excited. I was scared. I was only 19, but I was excited. I was like, I'm about to have a baby, and that's going to be a chance for someone to really, truly love me. Yeah. And me and my son's father, it was a volatile relationship. I mean, we were both really young. I put my whole life and my energy into this person, and I was trying to get him to fulfill me, and that didn't work. I then started partying. There was a time where I had depression all this time. Yeah. Didn't really know what to call it. I just knew, I thought everyone was as sad as me all the time. Yeah. Later found out, no. But I started seeing a psychiatrist, and we didn't really talk about my problems. He would just write me prescriptions. So I was on XYZ for all these mental health disorders. Yeah. Once again, I didn't know Jesus, wasn't going to church. Yeah. So I just thought that this was normal. I just take some pills, feel better, go party, alcohol, whatever. Yeah. Fast forward, that relationship didn't work out, and I became a single mother. So becoming a single mother, and I was also super hardcore party animal, drinking a lot. I got down to like almost no money at the time it came for rent. Yeah. So I honestly couldn't tell you where I even thought of this idea, but dancing at an exotic dance club to make money just came up. I don't even know honestly where. I didn't have a friend that told me about it. So I started doing it. I would stop after a couple days. I'd make my money. I didn't like it. I felt dirty. I didn't feel like this was right, but I just kept going back. And then partying turned into getting into using cocaine, more drugs, doing all this other crazy stuff. And it was horrible because I had a little baby at home, and I would always take him to my mom's house. My mom would watch him all the time for me, and everyone would tell me that I had a problem and say, why aren't you there for your son? But at the time, I was just so stuck in my addiction with everything else, trying to fulfill the whole deep God-sized hole I had. Yeah. And then I started going above and beyond when I was at the dance clubs. It turned into more than just dancing. Wow. I started sleeping with men for money, and that just drove the depression even deeper and deeper, and grew the anger and everything. Making me feel like less than a person, making me feel like I was nobody. Yeah. And then fast forward, it just became out of control. Yeah. Cocaine usage became out of control. I got into some trouble to where I got so drunk one night, I hurt somebody pretty bad, and I was facing legal charges. And that's kind of when God came, and I got in trouble. I tried to fight it and tried to say, oh, it wasn't my fault, they started it, blah blah blah. But God was like, no, this is your time. You're gonna realize that everything you've been doing, you were running away from me.
Yeah.
So one day, I just had this urge to go to church. Like I said, I had only went a couple times, so I didn't really know what Jesus does for people. My vision of church was everyone was perfect. They would go, no place for a person like me, right?
Right.
So one day I wake up, I take my son, we go to church. I didn't know what I was expecting, but there was just this urge to get there. So I got there, and they told the story of the prostitute in Luke 7:47, where she came into the Pharisees' home, and they sat down with Jesus, and the Pharisees were all thinking in their mind, does Jesus know who this woman is? Why is he talking to her?
Yeah.
And he said, no, her sins are forgiven because she loves me more than any of you do.
Okay, I have to stop it.
Yes, okay.
I have to stop it. This is so good.
Oh, God.
So you felt the tug.
Yes.
You feel the urge.
Yes.
You're like, hey, I went from alcohol to dancing to almost legal charges that could possibly land you
in prison.
And you feel Jesus tugging at your heart. You gotta get to church.
Yes.
Not only do you go to church, they're telling your story.
Yes. Oh, gosh. Yes.
They're telling
They really were.
your story. And you hear the story. Take us to that moment when you heard the story of Jesus talking to you.
Yes.
When you knew you felt that tug,
Yeah.
that was confirmation for you to say, yes, I heard Jesus.
Yes.
So tell us what it was like being in that service, hearing your story. Not the woman in the Bible.
Yeah.
That was your story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So tell us about that moment.
Yes. Okay. So I was sitting there with my son right next to me. He was probably playing on my phone or something like little kids do. I was watching the pastor. He was telling the story. And like you said, I've never heard of the Bible story, so I didn't even know about this. And at that moment, what I felt was who Jesus was, is he comes to save broken people. I
Right.
never knew that. I thought you had to be perfect
Wow.
before you could even have a relationship with God. I didn't even know what it meant to have a relationship with God. So at that moment, I felt more loved than I've ever felt in my entire life.
Yeah.
I felt my entire past, everything bad I've ever done, just wiped away. I felt clean. I felt worthy.
Yeah.
That was the main word I could
That's
say. I
good.
felt worthy because I've never felt worth of anything in my entire life. It was amazing. I went down to the bookstore. I bought a Bible. I've never owned a Bible in my life. I declared that day that I would not continue striving after men to try to fulfill me. And shortly after that, I quit drinking, and now over 2 years sober, no drugs.
That's so awesome.
Saving myself for marriage. It's just what God has done for me, and the fact that I didn't do anything to deserve it.
Yeah.
That's what's so amazing about it.
All right. So I want you now to look in the camera.
Yes.
And I want you to talk to the young women whose father may have had issues, whose father maybe did the wrong thing. But now you know a father
Yes.
who is like no other father that we can describe or explain. Tell those young women what they need to do to get to Jesus,
Okay.
what price they need to pay to get to Jesus. How is it that Jesus could love them after all that they've done?
I love that you say that. There's a verse in the Bible, don't quote me on that, but it says Jesus comes for the broken.
Yeah.
The reason you are, well, not the reason, but the fact that you are broken, the fact that you have done so many bad things in your life, Jesus comes specifically for you. He comes specifically because he sees your brokenness. He sees and he wants you. Like when you see a little baby crying, you want to pick it up and say, I'm here for you. I love you. And that's who Jesus is. He loves every single one of us, even more so in our brokenness, even more so when we've done things wrong, because that's when his power comes through. And there's nothing that any of us have done or even could do. That's what's so amazing about the Lord is he died not just for the sins that we did in the past, but any that we will do in the future. And he's come to redeem us and wash us completely clean. And we're not always going to be perfect. And that's one thing that's really helped me. Because I used to always wanted to be perfect because I was trying to make up for how bad I used to be. But you're never going to be perfect. You're never going to be, per se, good enough. You're already good enough. He purposely made you. He made you different and he loves you. And all you have to do is, he said, what do you need to do to come to Jesus? You just need to declare that he is Lord and go to him and say, I need you. That's it.
Yeah.
I need you, Jesus.
That's so good.
And that's when he flies in like the Superman that he is.
That's exactly what he does.
Yep.
So tell us where you are now. You told us 2 years sober, you know, saving yourself a marriage. What an amazing thing that is. I'm on that same journey. And so I want you to just tell us where you are now, raising your son. I know you're in school. So give us a little bit about we know where you came from,
Yes.
but tell us where you are now and what you are expecting to accomplish through this process.
Okay. So God put it on my heart that everything that has happened to me was for a purpose, and that I have to go back out there and help save those women that are still in that bondage, that don't know the message of Jesus yet, and to show him, look, there's hope, there's joy, there's peace available, and you can get out of that. It's so awesome. Like, sometimes it's scary and embarrassing to tell my past, but it's so much more exciting to tell people, because it's like, look, there is another side. There is a rainbow after the storm. So right now, the Lord put it on my heart to go to, I'm in a Bible college, and I'm in there for women's ministry. I don't really know where that's taking me yet, but I just took the first step and said, okay, Lord, I'm going to learn who you are, how to help others. I would like to help women. Now I'm raising my son. It's crazy. Back in the day, like I said, the money thing was a huge issue. Even as a single mother, God has provided so much for me. Without a husband, I've had more provision than I've ever had in my entire life. And he's taken away all those desires for the wrong things, and he's just pushed me into the desires for the right things. And I didn't deserve it, and there's really nothing I do to be this person. It was all just God. It's crazy how he just came and took all the addiction, just took it away from me. So I'm planning to graduate from my college with a bachelor's degree and just spread the message of Jesus, spread the hope of a broken sinner like me. There's hope for anybody. You just need to believe.
That's it. That's so good. One last thing. I want you to look at the camera, and I want you to tell those women who are still in that situation, who do still see that there's no way out, that maybe they think, okay, she did this much, but I've done so much more than what she has. Is Jesus still for me? Is there enough of him for me? So I want you to talk to those women and let them know.
Yeah, most definitely. There's tons of stories. It's not just about me. There's tons of people who, like you said, have done way worse than me and who are way more broken. And it's always a process. But to be saved, to be set free, it's just, you literally just have to believe. And then it's a process after that. But Jesus he will put the work in for you. You just have to give him a little bit, and he will take the little that you give him, and he will just explode it and do crazy things, amazing things.
Yes, he will.
But it all just starts with a decision. And there's a lot of people I know that even go to church and are still in that bondage, and that's okay. You take the first step. I wasn't squeaky clean the day I gave my life to Jesus. I still have a lot of work, and that's another beautiful thing about it. No one will ever be done. No one will ever be completely perfect to the day we go to heaven, and that's when we'll be perfect with Jesus. So that kind of gives me rest in knowing I'm not perfect right now, but that's okay, because no one else is. He just wants a relationship with you, and then after you create the relationship, he'll start to cleanse you step by step. But knowing him and trusting him, that's really all you have to do to start, and he'll do the rest.
So good, so good. So we just want to say thank you to Jasmine for coming, sharing her story with us, and letting us know that there is no sin that's so great that you can't come back to Jesus, right? So we thank her for coming. We thank her for sharing her story, and we hope that we've encouraged you, and we'll see you next time on The Perspective.